I am always looking for a company that is about to see its stock price really go up substantially, like double. And I may have a good idea in Salesforce, symbol CRM. Let me explain why, then we'll get into the fundamentals. I did a full valuation on Salesforce, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do with this stock. So, why Salesforce? Why do I think they're a special company at this time? AI. Um, this company is dominant as a software company, providing use cases for Salesforce automation, uh, customer service, call centers, e commerce, everything to do with gaining, attracting, marketing, uh, selling to customers, servicing customers, providing field service to customers, everything related to customers and companies marketing and selling and so forth. They've been dominant. They have great revenue growth. They continue to grow really well. They have tremendous cash flow, tremendous profitability. So the core of the company is super solid. And inherent in their business or in their software, they have had AI to begin with, and they've made it even better. And now they're beginning to really sell it, and they're having a positive impact to their customers, who are using Salesforce software. These customers are seeing real value from their AI products. And I don't think the market has really realized that, hey, we do have a company that's selling AI applications. They are real. It's almost like we're looking for that killer app, which is going to really make waves. And I think Salesforce for businesses is providing killer apps. When the market realizes it, I think the stock's really going to take off. I think this stock could really double quickly. So I'm going to take a look at the fundamentals, and I'm going to look at a valuation that I completed for Salesforce. Then I'll share with you what I'm going to do with this stock. Salesforce is a big cap company, $314 billion dollars, and the revenue is $37 billion dollars. So I think the company has had a big cap valuation for a while. It hasn't been all too exciting with the stock. It's up 13.5% over the 12-month. You can see they went on a nice rise beginning in the late May timeframe, and it peaked around December. And since December, the stock's actually had a nice pullback, nice opportunity to start buying into the stock potentially. Now, their forward P is 30, which in some views could be deemed a little expensive. We'll see what their growth rate looks like and what their profitability and free cash flow look like. They pay a tiny dividend like most software companies. Um, Analysts really like the stock, and they think it's discounted by almost 14%. When I look at sales and growth, I am very impressed as to how big the company is, 37 billion, and they keep growing, 9.5%. That's very, very good. And you see this green on the screen, just a a nice growth trend, compounded growth year after year. That's a sign of just a quality organization, very strong company. So that looks great. So revenue growth looks excellent. Free cash flow looks stupendous. Real nice growth. You can see that over time, they just keep getting higher rates of free cash flow. Very confident about the data because you have this upward slope. The trajectory of free cash flow looks great. And these guys, Salesforce sells software as a service contracts, and it's very hard for customers to leave. What are they going to do for Salesforce automation? What are they going to do for service? They're going to stick to Salesforce for a long time. So they have a very strong revenue, reoccurring revenue model. So that looks great. Gross margins 77%, and then the profit margins of 16. That just looks really good. Overall, Salesforce looks excellent. I think why the market isn't in love with Salesforce, because keep in mind, Salesforce is in the same category in my mind as CrowdStrike, Palantir. Palantir is a software company. They're a big data software company, and they provide software as a service. They're growing faster, but they're not as big as Salesforce. Salesforce is gigantic compared to those guys. And those stocks are really, moving up. This one, not so much. So I think this one here is kind of forgotten, but there's tons of value here that I'm excited about. Looking at their balance sheet, they have more cash than they do debt. Sign of a good, strong company. And 37 analysts have taken a look at Salesforce, and some analysts are quite optimistic, looking at the stock price target at 450, and worst case scenario, the stock's going to drop to 236. So there is dissension on opinions of, what this stock is worth, but on average, it's discounted by 13.7%. When we look at their earnings per share, it's going to really expand this year. So we're going from $4 a share to $10 a share. That's really nice growth. And that's the quarter that just ended. That's the estimate. And that quarter is going to be reported next week. Now, if you have a jump like that in earnings per share, and then they're going to sustain that jump, I mean, that is really a good looking number. And really, the forward PE going forward is going to be in the 20s, which looks really attractive to me. I'm using these numbers in my valuation as well as the free cash flow numbers that we saw previously. I completed a valuation for CRM, used their free cash flows to look at their intrinsic value. I also looked at earnings per share. And in combination, I think the stock's discounted by 32%. And most of the value that I'm seeing in the company is in these free cash flows. The free cash flows are just tremendous, and they've shown a very consistent growth in free cash flows. Free cash flows is what is consistent among the most valuable businesses on the stock market. And Salesforce most definitely has a desirable business because they generate those high cash flows. Their industry just is that type. And their growth, I'm going to grow them free cash flows by 10%, which is a little conservative. Looking at their growth rates in free cash flow, it's much higher, but I'm going to go conservative, 10% growth in the first 4 years and 5% long term. If their AI business takes off, I mean, their sales could really, really move. They could start growing at 20%, which would be exciting for a big company like this to start growing at 20%. Discount rate of 8%. So those cash flows intrinsically are worth $484 billion. Add cash, take away debt. The equity value, $485 billion. The current market cap is $314. So there's a 54% discount based on those free cash flows. Now, on earnings per share, I go conservative here using what's expected in the fiscal year that's about to end here. Ended in January 31st and will be reported next week. The PE I'm using is 26, a little lower than what they're priced at, and the growth rate of 8%. Both of these numbers are conservative. So they show that the stock may be a little overpriced based on earnings per share. So in combination, it's a 32% discount. And I think it's a terrific company. And I'm going to start buying into Salesforce. I think it's a good stock. I'm going to try to jump into it and build a position quickly. I think this one is going to move, especially after their earnings. So I'm going to put in a buyer order today and try to add as many shares as I can before their earnings hit and see what they announce next week. 10 super investors own Salesforce, and it's good to see that the big investors recognize that Salesforce is a good company. So it gives me a little extra confidence that, hey, I'm investing in a solid company. My intent with my portfolio is to grow my wealth. It's not necessarily to take huge risks that may end up landing and creating a good pile of wealth. It's like, hey, take a pile of wealth and make it bigger is my intent. So buying companies like Salesforce is the right angle for me, where I'm really taking a calculated investment and looking to double that investment over the next 5 years. I think Salesforce is going to double over the next 2 years. So that is my video on Salesforce. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your comments on Salesforce, what you think of the company. Maybe you already own Salesforce stock, and would love to see what you think of the company. Keep in mind, everything that I share on my channel is all about sharing my experience, my journey. It's never financial advice. I don't recommend you ever buy a stock that I cover. With that, good luck investing in 2025.